welcome to the Money Matters Empower Her podcast, where we're redefining what financial independence looks like for women. I'm your host, Donna Cates, and each week we'll dive into powerful stories, expert strategies, and practical tools to help you take charge of your financial future. The women sharing their journeys here aren't just telling stories, they're change makers. Their experiences, strategies, and financial outlooks carry real power to inspire transformation in your own life. Whether you're planning for retirement, navigating a divorce, or simply looking to build your wealth with confidence, this is your space to grow, learn, and thrive. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome, everybody, to Money Matters Empower Her podcast. This is where we have honest, uplifting conversations that inspire women to grow their influence, navigate life's pivots with courage, and build a life and wealth that reflects who they really are. And I'm your host, Donna Cates, and today I'm honored to be joined by Erica Rooney, who owns Her Collective, and she's doing powerful things in the world. And I'm really excited for you to hear her story, how she got here, and what she's been learning along the way, and how she's helping other people like you grow their wealth and their life purpose. So, Erica, welcome. And let's start with the heart of it all. Can you take about 90 seconds to give us an overview of the work that you do? And more importantly, why you do it? What's your
Yeah.
mission?
Oh my gosh. So I run an online community for women called Her Collective. And what we do inside is we are a group full of powerful, ambitious women who are looking to grow their network, climb the corporate ladder, and expand their careers. And so we come together, we have weekly group coaching and monthly master classes, and we're just real with each other. Like we spend the first half hour just talking about what is going on because there is such power in community. And Donna, I climbed and clawed and scrapped my way up to the top of the corporate ladder. Was making a ton of money, way more money than I ever thought I would see in my lifetime. And I was miserable. I was completely and utterly miserable. But I was very fortunate that I really worked on growing my wealth while that money was coming in. So I was able to take the risk and step away from corporate America and that reliable paycheck that we think is reliable, which spoiler alert, it never is, and start my own business. And I've been doing that for the past, couple years now, but I officially left corporate 1 year ago. But I had been building that business in the background, and now we've been all in ever since. And I do it because I don't want any other woman to feel the stress, the anxiety, the pressure, the shame that I felt while I was in corporate America. And it's such a blessing to be able to do this work, and I love it so much.
That is so awesome. So, give us an idea of what it was you were doing in corporate America before.
Yeah. So I started my career in fitness and wellness, and I hit my first glass ceiling in probably less than 10 years. And I was working for Verizon, which is a ginormous company. Everybody knows them.
Mhm.
And what they had told me was, you're great, but there's no more room for you here. We don't have another level for you to grow. And so I kind of took stock of my life and my career, and that was a job where I had to go to work every day. Now, this is pre-pandemic when everybody got dressed and went into the office, okay? So
I
when I
remember.
started looking for a remote job, it was like you could only do it in tech. And so I was like, well, do I get my project management certification? What do I do? Went and did that. That didn't work out for me. But I got into HR. And so I found out that that was really amazing for me because I was in fitness and wellness because I loved helping people. And then I got to transition into HR where I got to continue to help people. But one was with their, their health and their fitness, and then the other was with their careers. But I'm super ambitious. And so I just started climbing my way to the top of the ladder. And I would say within 4 or 5 years, I was in the C suite. And so I was a chief people officer in a tech company doing a lot of international travel, going to India for 2, 3 weeks at a time, working 60 hours a week. But I was managing the entire employee experience from the moment they clicked apply on the website until they exited the company. And I did that for a private equity firm that owned 3 different companies under one umbrella. So managed all of those companies, led them through a merger and an acquisition. And then it wasn't but a couple years after that, I decided it was time to leave.
Well, and I applaud you for having the courage to do that. And ladies, if y'all didn't catch this when Erica said it, she was able to comfortably leave that corporate world because she had been diligently saving and investing and all of the things so that she had that cushion to make the transition. So kudos to you for that. And I know you've already mentioned the term glass ceiling, and I know every woman that's listening to this has no difficulty understanding what that is. But you also talk about sticky floors. I would love for, and I think that's the name of your podcast. Am I right?
Yeah,
Glass
it's the name
ceiling
of
and
my
sticky floors.
podcast. I have a best-selling book that Mel Robbins endorsed, called Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floors. And it's my life's work at this point. But in my world, sticky floors are the limiting beliefs and the toxic behaviors that keep you stuck. So that could be anything from perfectionism, burnout, fear, but it can also be the things that we are doing, such as staying in a toxic relationship for the sake of this podcast, maybe frivolous spending and not being in control of your finances. Maybe you are married to someone and they have full control. You don't know the password to your online banking account. Maybe you don't even know where to go pay your light bill, right? Those are sticky floors because, and Donna, I love that we're talking today because I actually just recorded a session for my podcast with a woman, and all we talked about was financial literacy and how important it is. But yeah, sticky floors are all of those things. For me, it was too much wine on a Wednesday, right? I was so stressed out and unhappy in corporate that I was numbing that with wine. And then came the shame, right? So sticky floors, everybody has them. They're totally normal, but you have to know what they are so that you can work through them.
Yeah, just kind of recognizing and acknowledging. And the big thing is knowing that, okay, this really isn't working for me. That's a huge mindset shift. And the unfortunate thing is a lot of us are there in that space, but we just don't have the courage or fortitude or whatever it is that we need to kind of take that next step. And that's what I love about the work that Eric is doing. So I know that, you're building something that's extremely meaningful, especially that community, because like me, my home office, I am in my home, right? And so only time I'm talking with people, 80% of the time is like we're doing right now. So having that sense of community is really tremendous. But tell me, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've lived or experienced over life so far, and what's it taught you, and how does it impact how you're showing up today as a leader, a woman, a business owner, all of those things?
I think one of the lessons that I am learning still a bit is you're not dreaming big enough. And when I look back, and again, hindsight is a gift that we will all have one day, right? Today might not be that day. But when I look back on my life and I started putting those ceilings over myself at a
Mm,
very early age. I never thought that I would make above six figures. I thought that was completely out of range for me.
mm,
And so you better believe that when I did, I was like, I have arrived. But, I never thought I would be in the C suite. I never thought I would out earn my husband. I never thought I would start a business. I never thought I would walk away from a multiple six-figure corporate level job, right? There's a lot of things that I never, and when I say never thought I would do, it's not like that thought just didn't come into my brain. It was like a no, that's not me kind of thought. Very different from just not thinking about it. And I think that's the lesson is the goals that I have set for myself time and time again have always been too short. And there's that saying, it's like, oh, shoot for the moon, you'll land among the stars. And it's like, y'all, we are selling ourselves short because we're not even believing in ourselves enough to even dream of what could be possible. So I think I'm
mm.
still working through it, but it's what's on my mind these days.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you that I'm relating so much because I'm a work in progress in so many areas. Being a people pleaser is one of them. Being a
That's a sticky
perfectionist.
floor, girl.
Right, right, right. And the other one is being a perfectionist. The two of those together, that yeah, but I do work it on it daily. And I agree with you. We don't dream. It's not just the dreaming, it's literally picturing ourselves out there and being in that space. And that being something that we know we can own. It's like, to think about it's one thing, but to own it and that's how we get it, right? So I'm sure that your coaching is around that as
You've
well.
got me thinking of something really interesting. And I remember as a child, I would lay in bed at night, and while I was trying to fall asleep, because, back then nobody had sound machines or anything else
Right.
going on, you had quiet. And I would visualize, and it's a little embarrassing to admit, but I'm just going to be honest, my wedding. That is what I would do. I loved this idea of that was the gold star, right? We all needed to go out and find that man that was going to be our provider. And I would envision my wedding dress and who was in the wedding and was it going to be here or there. And now I know the power of visualization. And so now I'm trying, as I lay in bed at night, to visualize what does my life look like when I hit these goals, right? Like, what does it look like to be on a stage in front of 100,000 people talking about making change for women and closing the pay gap? What does it look when my membership has over 5,000 people joined and they're all showing up on the Zoom boxes that are so tiny I can barely see them? You know,
Mhm.
so I'm trying to change those visualizations to be more powerful and, just see where it goes. But that's what it really got me thinking down to. It is way back then. I wasn't dreaming of running a business or being a successful entrepreneur or even sitting on the C suite and leading boards, right? It was getting married. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have a wonderful
Right.
husband. I love him. I had a beautiful wedding in Mexico. But it's like that's what I was thinking of every night. Come on.
Mhm. But it did come to fruition, so that's a good thing. So
Hey,
awesome. And I'm
so far
very
so good.
yeah, and I'm very visual too. So not just, having imagining it here, but putting it out on paper, whether it's sticky notes on the mirror or, what have you. I like to do that. But let's talk a little bit about impact because I know you're making a huge impact on the people that you're working with and just your community in general. Tell me about how you're empowering these women to be all they can be, to be their best selves.
I think a lot of it is just the support from someone who's been there and who can talk about it openly. And they're looking at me and they're saying, oh my gosh, like she's normal and she's successful and she's, got quote unquote it all, right? And I say that loosely because nobody has it all. We create our it all life. But they look at me and I do have a great life, but I've made this life. I've had moments in my life that have not been so great where I have looked to other people and said, okay, if they can do it, so can I. And so I think the community aspect of it and also the connectedness, because we meet every week, we really have formed a tight knit group of women that are just all in. They have each other's backs, ride or die kind of women. And to me, you don't find that just anywhere. And I love being in the communities that I'm in. I've got a lot of speaker friends, and one of my speaker friends talks all about friendship and belonging and connectedness. And she talks about the number of hours it takes to form a close friendship. And it's
Oh.
like, I don't even know. You would have to meet once a week for an hour for like 3 years, which is impossible these days.
Mhm.
But these women are coming together. They're being open, they're being vulnerable, they're sharing their stories, and then they are giving their support, their strength to the other women when they need it. And I think that is the biggest impact of it all.
That's got to be very empowering. And I think, yeah, another word that I think we've said a couple of times is being vulnerable, showing up as your authentic self and not putting on the face, like my Susie Sunshine face. I think that's a really big part of it.
It's so hard too. And I see it show up in these little ways. And um in the very beginning, I told you for me, one of my sticky floors was too much wine on a Wednesday. And because I never spoke about that to anyone, it became, this big dark secret to me. And it took over so much for me. And it's like when you talk about it, it just minimizes it so much because you realize that number one, you're not the only person. You realize that other people are there to help you and they're not ashamed of you. They're not embarrassed by you. They just want you to be your best you. And so I think that was a super big part was talking about it. But like I said, these sticky floors, they come up in these weird ways. And I remember, Donna, there was a day where I just realized that I had this belief that in order to be presentable on stage or on a Zoom or in a picture, I had to have my hair down and it had to be curled. Now, where the hell that came from, I don't even know, right? And it wasn't until one of my members said to me, Erica, a pony is a power pony, girl. Like, you gotta rock it. And so, what I did was I recognized, okay, she has pointed it out to me and she is right. And also, nobody cares if my hair is
Mhm.
in down or in six ponies, you know? And so the next keynote that I had, I put that hair up in a pony because it felt uncomfortable, Donna. It felt real uncomfortable. But I put it up in a pony and I rocked it on stage. And guess what? It was one of the best performances that I had. And then I was dang proud of myself for doing it, you know?
Absolutely. Okay. And I can't imagine you with six ponies, but the one
Now that
I
might get a few looks.
that I would be very curious to see that. But I love the audacity of it and you just showing up the way you do. That's fabulous. So let's talk a little bit about, what the biggest challenges are in your industry. And I know you're focusing on women, but what are the challenges with, I mean, because you're kind of in the coach space. So what's going on in that industry? What's lacking? What do you see developing?
Yeah, I mean, I see a bigger and bigger need for coaching, and I see more people leaning into it. It is a very viable career for many people because it offers you the flexibility. You get to take your lived experiences and share it out there with people and make an impact, and you get paid for it, right? Often this was the unpaid work of women is we would just
Mhm.
help all of our friends and it was like you're giving time is money and you are giving it away. And now people recognize the value in putting some dollars into coaching. But when it comes to also coaching other people, one of the biggest things that I'm seeing is what they're calling quiet promotions. And that's where it's like, let's say you're in corporate, Donna, on a team of 5 and, team member number 1 quits. So what do? Do they backfill the position? No. They spread the work of one amongst the other 4. And then maybe the third team member quits, and then you get those duties and responsibilities. And then they're not compensating people from a financial perspective, and they're not compensating people from a title perspective. So they're calling it these quiet promotions because they're asking people to do the work without the compensation. And I think this has been happening for all of time, honestly. But
Mhm.
it happens more to women and it's happening more frequently right now. And
Mhm.
so I always tell people that if you are, doing all that and you're not getting any rewards, like that is a big red flag and you need to take that into consideration.
Wow, and I can't even imagine just because with the economy as it is and people like being
Oh,
laid off. I mean, layoff is more common now. I mean, when I was growing up, I don't remember people. I mean, I remember people striking, but I don't remember people being laid off, right? But now it's just commonplace. So, tell us this. I would love to know if you could speak or sit down and have lunch with any woman, living or deceased. Who would you choose to have that with and why? What would you love to ask her?
oh my God, there's so many people I want to talk to. But oh, that is such a hard question, Donna, because I could give you a list.
Yeah.
I could give you a list, but what's really top of mind right now, and this is going to be super trendy, and a lot of people are going to roll their eyes, but y'all, Taylor Swift is a business mastermind. She is a freaking genius, a marketing genius. And I'm just like, I want to get inside that brain and I want to just take it all apart and figure it out. But what I love about Taylor Swift, and I tell this to my daughter all the time, I tell it to the women in my community, is there was nothing special about her, right? And
Mhm.
that's what's special about her is she just put herself out there. And spoiler alert, I know a lot about Taylor Swift because I have a 7-year-old daughter, so we read all the Taylor Swift books and we sing all the Taylor Swift songs and That's where I'm at in life, guys. But it's so fascinating because it's like she grew up running a Christmas tree farm with her family, in the country. And then it was her mother who drove her around in a station wagon handing out her singles. So she didn't come from money. She didn't have all these legs up. She just had the courage to put herself out there and try and fail a lot. I think so often, I know myself, I always expected to succeed every single time when I did something, whether it was in school, in sports, I expected excellence and I got excellence most of the time, which made failures so dang hard. And she's out there like 13, 14, fail, 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 fail.
And she kept on going.
And she kept on going. And now look where she is. So I think if I had to pick one, today's answer would be Taylor Swift.
Today, and I know it might be different tomorrow, but that's awesome. And I would love to be at that little luncheon myself. So,
I'll give you a call.
okay, that's fabulous. Well, I would love for you to share with us, Erica, how our listeners can learn more about you. And let me ask you this question too. If you can talk about the community you have, is that open to anybody? How do people learn about your
Yeah. So
community?
if you're interested in her collective, you can go to the website, which is just www.joinhercollective.com. And that'll be all about the community. It is only for women. We're keeping it a sacred space for women. It's any woman in corporate. You can be an entrepreneur and be in there. You just have to have a growth mindset. You have to be open. You have to be vulnerable. I do have a list of core values that I ask everyone to read before they join to make sure that their vibe is my vibe, right? I want to make sure we're all in the best place with each other. But if you want to check it out, hit up that website, joinhercollective.com. You can also follow them on Instagram, which the handle is joinhercollective. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I tell people all the time that's my other permanent address. I live in North Carolina and on LinkedIn. And my name there is Erica Anderson Rooney. And you can also check out my personal webpage, which is ericaandersonrooney.com. And that has all the information on speaking and consulting. But yeah, her collective, y'all, that's where it's at. That is going to be the game changer for 2026 and beyond. So I'd love to see you in there.
Well, and I can't wait to check it out. I did not do that before today, but I will now. So, well, I appreciate you being a guest with us today. And like I always tell everybody, our podcast is literally focused just to expand women's minds, to share ideas and things that other people are doing that you might not have even considered before. So again, you broke out of that corporate space, busted through the ceiling, and literally built a new place with no ceiling. It's just like, let's just go, right?
That's right. Let's
Okay.
go.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you for tuning in to the Money Matters Empower Her podcast. I hope today's conversation left you feeling inspired, informed, and ready to take the next step in your financial journey. Remember, building wealth isn't just about money. It's about creating a life that aligns with your goals and values. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with the women in your life who deserve financial empowerment too. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and keep building the life you want.